Do you like to read? And do you like to crochet? Do you have a lot of yarn over in your stash that you need to find a project to put some of that yarn into, but you're not quite sure what to do? Have I got a project for you? Stay tuned. Well, friends, this is it. It's called a book blanket, and the inspiration comes from a young lady named Jess over at Puzzled by Plants on Instagram. Make sure you go and visit her. I'll put her link down in the description box below. Side note, she also has a Facebook group called Book Blankets. Go check that out. But this is the concept. I've always been under the belief that an Afghan should tell a story. If you've been with me for a while, you've seen some of the Afghans I've put together for family members. The colors correlate with a part of their story of their life, and this is no different. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to find a book, read that book, and then you're going to crochet a classic granny square or any variation of a granny square that you like in correlation with the colors that are on the cover of the book. It is such a unique concept. By the time you're done, you have an Afghan that directly correlates with every book you've read, whether that be 24 books, 48 books, 84 books, you can go any number you want. Now, I knew this is something I wanted to do because I have a lot of yarn over in my stash pile that I need to do something with. Yarn left over from projects, I need to come up with something. And I thought I could do a granny square blanket, but there's no meaning behind it. Now with this project, there's meaning behind it. But I knew before I got started on this project, I needed to have a way to log everything that I was doing. So I created this little book here. This is called A Book and a Hook, an Afghan's Story. And this is a fill-in as you go journal. You're able to write down everything about a book that you read, the author, how many pages it is, the genre, and then leave a personal book review inside this little journal. And then you also note the colors that you used for each round of your granny square. And you can go back to this as a reference to see what each square means on your book blanket. It is so amazing. If this is something that interests you, let's head on over to my craft table. We'll look through the book a little bit and we'll put together my square for Reef Road. Okay, before we get into choosing the colors for this square for Reef Road, let's take a look at this little journal that I've put together for you. It's A Book and a Hook, an Afghan story. I am so proud of this little book. When you open the book, you're going to be able to place your name in here so you know who created this Afghan story. A little introduction about who I am. There I am with my chicken. And how to do your Afghan, your book blanket is all right here for you. You've got enough room here to create a reading list for 48 books. So you can add your to-do list right here, and then you can rate them if you want to, and a place for notes. And then look here. Here is for our first Afghan square. Make sure that I've got this right where you can see it. It's for your book and your granny square, your title, author, genre, the date you started reading the book, the date you finished the book, how many pages are in it, and then you're going to note the colors for every round of your 6 rounds of a granny square. I've got a little place right here where you can add in some of your favorite quotes or a picture of your book or your Afghan. And here, just some little personal reflection on the book. I selected this book because, and then your thoughts about this book. This is where you write your own book review. Then when you're all done, you have this reference to look back on for the square that's going to be in the number 1 position, top to bottom, right to left in your Afghan. So you'll be able to say, you know what was that color for? What was that block for? And it'll be all right here in your book. You've got enough pages here to do 48 books and 48 blocks. And then there at the very, very back, as we get to the back of the book here, is a classic granny square pattern. So you can learn how to do a granny square if you've never done one. And we also have a graph, and then we have pages for notes at the end. So this book, written by me, is available on Amazon. Just look up Country Mama Musings or A Book and a Hook, an Afghan story, if you'd like one for your own project. You know what? Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you can put together a sweet little basket with this book, a couple of balls of yarn out of your stash, and a novel that you pick up at the store and a crochet hook. What a lovely gift for a neighbor. All right, let's set this aside. I already know what I'm going to do with this when I fill this in. I'm not going to fill it in on the video today. No sense doing that. Let's take a look at our book that I've just finished reading. It's Reef Road by Deborah Goodrich Royce. Very good book. I enjoyed it very much. I found myself staying up late at night to get to the next chapter, and it was a page turner, I'll tell you. Let's look at the colors so we can see what colors I'm going to pick for my blanket. You may not have noticed. I didn't notice it right away, but look right here. Let me pick this up. There's a black widow spider right there in the center of the cover. So because this is kind of a thriller of a book, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make round number 1 for my Afghan to represent the black widow spider. So we're going to go with black. Then look at the beautiful colors of these birds of paradise. Aren't those gorgeous? I went over to my stash and I found this lovely, lovely deep coral, and it goes so well with the petals in this bird of paradise. That's going to be for round number 2. For round number 3, I do have this beautiful mango color that I picked up. It goes with another book that I've read, and that is these lighter orange colors here in the book. It may not come across that well. I might change this out for a different orange. We'll see if I decide to change that, but there is this mango color right here. I kind of like that, and since I already have it on hand, I might go ahead and use this. So let me set this one right over here. Then look at these beautiful, beautiful blue sections of the flowers. And I went over to my stash, and lo and behold, I have this bright electric blue color. I mean, it goes perfectly. It's perfect. That is going to be rows 1, 2, 3, maybe row 4. There's not much on the cover, so I don't want to represent it too much. So probably row number 4. And last but not least, we've got the greenery, and I've got this really nice deep green. It goes perfectly with the greens here. I might do 1 or 2 rows of this green, and all of the colors will come together in my square for my book blanket. Row number 1, it's going to be black. Now, because the spider is so small on the cover, I'm just going to do 1 round. Now, there are different ways you can start your granny square. In the book, it says just the traditional way to chain and then make a ring. I prefer to do a magic circle. So I'm going to go ahead and start my magic circle. And I'm going to do round 1. We're going to have 3 double crochet. And then with a chain 2 in between for our corners. Just going to go ahead and attach the round there. And you know what? When I finish a round, I like to slip stitch over to the corner space. That gives me a really nice place to just kind of finish off. So when I finish off any project, I like to chain 2, cut myself a nice long tail, pull that through, and I pinch it right here at the top, and I give it a nice strong pull. That knot is not coming undone. Right here at the center where we have our magic circle, give that a nice firm tug, and that closes that up nice and neat. And here we have, I'm going to get a little sticker on here. There we have round 1 for our book blanket square for Reef Road. Let's move on to round 2. And actually, when I made this cake, I kept this in here so I could know what color it is. This one is called Tiger Lily. I like to start just with a simple slip knot, get that on my hook. And I like to start my next round, got a little doggy here there. The next round just in any corner, usually opposite from where I finish off. Now I start these rounds a little differently. I slip stitch that on there, and I'm going to start with a kind of a loose chain. Then I'm going to start my corner. So here's 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet. I don't like to chain up 3, even though that's what's in the instructions, because you can always see it. Chain 2 for my corner. Give that a little bit of room, and I'm going to do 3 more double crochet here in this very same corner space, the chain 2 space, for the black round 1 that represents our spider. Chain 1. We're going to go over here to this next chain 2 space, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Chain 1. We're going to go to the next chain 2 space and repeat that shell of 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Then we'll chain 1 and come over and complete the same thing here. We'll end with a chain 1. We're going to join back over here. I'll meet up with you when I get to that stage of round 2 for our Afghan square for our book blanket. We're here at the end of round 2. I have my chain 1. Now remember, here we just did 2 double crochet, but they had that really tall chain at the beginning. I just kind of like to go into the top of that and do a slip stitch, and it kind of looks like there's 3 of them there. You don't have that awkward chain 3. Slip stitch over to my corner, nice and neat. Going to chain 2, and then I'm going to cut myself a nice long tail, pull that through, pinch that chain 2, and give this a nice firm pull that cinches that knot down. It's not going anywhere. So there we go. We have round 1, which is the spider, and round 2, which is that deeper orange color of our bird of paradise. Let's move on to round 3. Am I going to keep that mango color, or am I going to find a more appropriate orange? Be right back and let you know. Okay, I checked my stash. I tell you, the orange that I have on hand is a little bit too bright. I really feel that it takes away from what I'm trying to achieve here. So I'm just going to stay with this mango, do a slip knot, and get that onto my hook here. Going now for round 3 of our granny square. This is where I finished off. I'm just going to go over here to this next corner and start. I apologize for that smoke detector in the background. That is driving me nuts. 1 kind of tall chain to get started. We're going to do 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. Chain 2 because it's a corner, and 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. We have our chain 1 space right here. We're going to place 3 double crochet in this chain 1 space. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. Over here to the corner, 3 double crochet. Chain 2, 3 double crochet. 1, bit more yarn there, 2, and 3. We're going to chain 1 and place 3 double crochet here in this next chain 1 space. Chain 1, and then complete that shell in the corner of the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. We're going to continue that all the way around, and I'll meet up with you right here at the beginning of our round to finish off. Look at how pretty those colors go together. It is so reminiscent of a bird of paradise. I'll see you when I get to the end of the round. We're here at the end of round 3. Just going to go right there into that tall chain again and slip stitch under there. And that closes that round. I tell you what, I got that little dog hair just bothering me. Little pet friendly farm here. Slip stitch over to the corner, chain 2, nice long tail to sew in later, pinch those chains and give that a nice firm tug, and that closes that down, and there is round 3. Now when I look at this book, I do have some yellows here with the blues. I'm wondering if I should grab some yellow before I add the blue. Or should I do the blue and then add the yellow? It's so hard to tell. So many beautiful colors on this cover. I think I'm going to see if I can find a nice yellow. I have a brighter yellow and a softer yellow. Let me look at my stash, see what we can come up with. And I don't know if I want to do my blue and then yellow or yellow and then blue. I think I'm going to do the yellow and then the blue. Let's go see what I can find. Okay, I found just this little bit of yellow. Is it enough to go all the way around? We're going to find out. I may have enough to do just one round on this. So let's see here, and let's see if we can get enough to get round number 4 with this nice, it's kind of in between a bright yellow and a soft yellow. It's not pale. Let's go over here. We're going to start in this corner. Now, when I suggest that you start the next round, I've had some people say, how can you tell what's the right side of your square, what's the wrong side of your square? It's hard to tell sometimes. I mean, obviously, I've got all of these ends here that I have to sew. But when you look at this, you can see all of this really thick stitching here as you do your work. And plus, you can just kind of sense it's facing away from you. When you flip this over, you don't have all that thickness. See how thick these are? You don't have that. These are nice and neat. And then you have all of these little V's facing up towards you. If the V's are facing you, that's the right side of your square. Let's turn it back over. See how the V's are not there? They're facing away from you. This is the wrong side of our square. We want the right side of our square to face us. And because we're changing colors and we're starting a new row every time, we're not going to have that lopsided granny square. Our granny square is going to be nice and square. It's not going to be lopsided. Now, what do you do if you have 2 rows that are the same color? What if I wanted to add another row of this mango? I would have just simply slip stitched over to the corner like I showed you earlier. And instead of finishing off, I would do that one tall chain and I would start my next round all the way around, just as I would if I were starting a new round. So keep that in mind. You don't have to turn your work, and you can have more than one row. Okay, crossing our fingers that we have enough yellow to make this next round. Again, we're going to start with a slip stitch and a tall chain, and then working our corner. Oh, I think I'm already happy that I've added this yellow. Isn't that a nice pop of color? So pretty. Bird of Paradise is such a beautiful plant. Okay, our chain 1 over here to our chain 1 space, we're going to go ahead and 3 double crochet and chain 1. I don't know, this might be a case of yarn chicken. We'll see if I have enough yellow to make it all the way around. I think it's smart that I went with the yellow first and then we'll do the blue, because I think if I would have gone to round 5 for the yellow, I don't know that I would have had enough. So I'm going to continue on with round 4, this pretty yellow, and I will meet up with you when we are ready to close this round. We're coming up here to the end of round 4 for our book blanket granny square. Am I going to have enough? We're playing yarn chicken with a really small piece of scrap yarn left over there from our stash buster. Here's where we began. We're going to go to that really tall chain and just slip stitch through and then slip stitch over to the corner, and we made it. I tell you what, I didn't have much to spare. I can tell I just had just a couple of stitches left in what was left in this little bit. I think I might have enough yellow though where I can actually do a round 1 for another square. So don't throw this away. Save it for when you want to do the center with just yellow. Don't throw it away. This is a great, great stash buster, I'm telling you. So smart of Jess over at Puzzled by Plants to come up with this. All right, here is 4 rounds. Let's take a look at our book. There's our book. And here is the granny square that we're starting based on the flowers and that spider right there. What do you think? How's that looking? Now, I could have done the yellow next to the spider because it's such a small representation of color, but I didn't want it to look like a bumblebee. You gotta put a little thought into what you're doing when you put your colors together. So now we're gonna move on to this blue. I've got that electric blue. Let's go ahead and move on and add that to our next round. Here to the corner, chain 2, and let's take a look at this because I'm not sure I like it. What do you think? Let's bring our book back over. I almost feel like it's too much blue. It almost makes it look comical now. I think what I might do is I'm going to take the blue off and I'm going to go back with this deeper orange. So it's like a completion of just the oranges and the yellows of the flower. And I'm going to go back with that tiger lily color and bring that back in. Because I just think that's going to just make it a little bit better. I just think the blue made it a little comical. And this was a serious book. Now you may be asking, why am I not doing more black? There's so much black on the cover. Well, I'm going to join my squares and make the border of my blanket black. It's going to have it. It's going to be on that very outer edge. So let me add this tiger lily and then we'll go right to the green for the leaves that are on our bird of paradise for this book with this spider right in the middle. I really think I like this much better without the blue. And this is what's so great about this project, this book blanket project, this stash buster project, is it is completely open to your interpretation. What colors do you like? How does the cover of the book make you feel? It might make someone else feel entirely different. They may choose entirely different colors. They may choose entirely different colors for different rounds of their blanket or of their square. And so no two book blankets are going to be alike. Each one, even if you and a group of your friends read the same books in a book club like what I belong to, if each one of us ladies crocheted a square for each book each month, we all would have an entirely different, unique, beautiful Afghan that tells a story. And that's why I thought it was so great to have a journal put together for a book and a hook, an Afghan's story, because it's going to start telling its own story. I really do like the way this is coming together. Much better without that blue. But that's okay. The blue will be used for another project. I didn't cut it. And I'm certain I'm going to come across another book that's going to have that color of blue in it. So I'm not worried one little bit. That will get used up in my stash eventually. Okay, so I'm going to finish up with this round with this tiger lily orange. And I'll meet back up with you when I get ready to join that. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to the green. And we'll see how the green looks. Maybe I'll do the green. I'm not going to write in my book till I determine. Maybe I'll just finish it off with white for the wording that is on the book. Maybe I'll just make the focus of the entire block be the tiger lily, or not the tiger lily, the bird of paradise and the spider. And then we will finish it off with white. And then we will put it all together with black. Maybe that would be the focus. Let's see. I won't know until I try the green. And we'll see how it looks. And I might just go with white. Again, that's what's so great about this project is you have the flexibility based on how you want to interpret your square. Look, I was going to come back to you, but I've talked all the way through this. We're ready to join up this last round here of this beautiful tiger lily color. Slip stitch right there. Slip stitch over to the corner. Chain 2. Cut. Pinch those chains and give that a nice firm tug. There we go. There's our spider. This is a tail sticking through there. There we go. There's our spider right there in the middle of our beautiful bird of paradise. Look at that. Now I need to decide, do I want to do this really deep, deep green, or do I want to do white? Let's start with the green and see how it looks. Now remember, this is going to end up with a black border. I kind of like that green. I like the way that looks just starting out. You know, as we start this last row, I want to know, comment below, would you have kept the blue? Did the blue speak to you? Or would you have taken that blue out and gone with another round of a different color? If you wouldn't have chosen the tiger lily, what color would you have chosen? Comment below and let me know. I would be interested to know how you would have gone with this blanket square that we're doing here for our Afghan. Let me finish up just this one little side and we'll look and see how the green is looking. See if that speaks to us with the book, or if we're going to change it out for white. Let's take a look. Let's set this down and see how that looks. I kind of like that. Let's get our book. I like the way that green looks. There are probably 4 or 5 different shades of green in this cover, but it does match that one right there on the edge. And that's what's great, is it's a color I had in my stash. Again, this is a stash buster, so I'm not going to run out and try to buy the perfect color of green that I can use in this Afghan blanket. For this square, I can use what's in my stash. All right, so I think that's going to work. I'm going to go on and complete this last round, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to put them together for the border, and we're going to do a join as you go. So stick around and join me when I get down here to this very last round, and we're going to put a couple of them together. I'll work up another one. I'll show you how we're going to join the two. Okay, our block is done. We've got the spider in the center that is right here in the center of the flower of the book here. And we have the tiger lily and mango and yellow that represent the pretty colors. We determined the blue was a little bit too much. And here we have finished it off with this really nice olive green that's just right over here in the corner in all of these lovely greens of the book. Now, for the outside edge, I stated we're going to do that in black, and we're going to do a join as you go. So I'm going to get the round of the black on here, and then I'll show you how we're going to join that to another square that I'm going to work up off camera. I'll work up another one for another book that I've read from my book club. And then I'll show you how we do the two together. Now, when you're starting with your very first block, just go ahead and just do the same as you've done here. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to add another round of just our traditional classic granny square here. And I will meet up with you when I'm ready to show you how we're going to join it. No sew. We're going to join as you go as we put our borders on our squares as they're worked, okay? So I'll meet up with you when I'm ready to show you how to add the second square. I've got my final row on here. Before I put them together, I'm going to sew the ends in, and I wanted to show you how I like to sew them. We've already crocheted over this tiger lily color. I'm going to come back now with my needle here. It's a large-eyed needle, and I'm just going to skip over this very first strand of yarn here, and I'm going to go underneath all of these mango colors here. Not through to the front, just along the back. I'm going to pull that through. Not too tight. You don't want to distort this, but you want it snug. Now I'm going to back work the other direction, and again I'm going to skip over the first strand, and then I'll come out all the way the other end. That kind of locks it in place. I like to do this 3 times, and then I know that no matter how many times I wash this Afghan, these ends aren't going anywhere. So there's my third one, back and forth, and then I'm just going to snip that nice and close, making sure I don't accidentally cut any of the other strands of yarn. I'm going to finish sewing in all of my ends, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put all of our blanket 2 squares together, not the entire blanket. I'm not that far yet. I don't read that fast. We're going to put 2 squares together so I can show you the join as you go. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these ends in, and I'll meet up with you when we're ready to start the next part of our process for our book blanket. Okay, I've finished up the border for our square for Reef Road, and I have another square here that I have completed. This one, and I've already sewed all the ends on in the back. This one was for a book called The Saints of Swallow Hill. Really interesting book. I'll be adding all of the information to my little journal so that I'll have all of the details about this book, and it'll be listed under the number 2 spot, because now I'm going to add it to this one here. Now, there are a couple of ways you can do this when you're making your blanket. If you want to, you can go ahead and put the black border all the way around, and then you could either crochet them together or you can sew them together, however you'd like to do it. But I'm going to do the join as you go method, and I wanted to show you just how nicely that works. We're going to go ahead, we're going to start with the same black that we're going to use throughout the entire blanket now for joining. And I'm going to start over here in this corner, which would be over here, or you could start down here if you like, wherever you'd like. And I'm just going to start with my same pattern, and I'll show you what happens when we get to right here. This is where we're striving to get for our join as you go. Then as you put your blocks together, sometimes you'll be joining along the side, sometimes you'll be joining along the top as your blocks all come together. But this will give you the basic concept of how to do the join as you go. Now, the motorcycle has stopped, the helicopter has gone, but that darn smoke alarm is still chirping. We need to get that fixed. And now my roosters are out there just cock-a-doodle-doodling up a storm, letting all of the girls know it's getting close to bedtime. They're about ready to turn in for the night. The sun is starting to set on the opposite side of the farmhouse. And here I am up here in the craft room working on this beautiful book blanket. And I tell you what, I haven't been this excited about a project in a while, because I think this is such a unique way to not only chronicle the books that you've read, but also to use up all of your scrap yarn. I just think it is the neatest thing, and I love that the book tells a story. Now, what if reading isn't your thing? Well, guess what? You can do this for other things. You don't have to necessarily do it for a book. You can crochet squares for any number of things, and I'll tell you what. I've got 2 more books coming out. It's actually called Across the Miles, an Afghan's story. And what you can do is you can crochet blocks based on your travels. What are some of the things you saw and experienced on a recent trip? Think about the colors that come to mind when you think about a trip that you've taken, and you crochet a block based on that trip. It is so much fun. I've already got the book written. Like I said, it's in pre-production, and I've already crocheted up a couple of squares. One of them was for a trip to the first time my husband and I ever saw a Great Lake and a lighthouse on the Great Lake. It was so beautiful. And so I did a square for that based on the colors of the water and the colors of the lighthouse. Okay, I'm here to this corner here. Okay, I'm going to crochet 3. And when I get to this corner over here, I'm just going to chain 1, because we have chain 2 in the corners, chain 1, and then I'm just going to slip stitch to that corner. That counts as my chain 2. Does that make sense? Then I'm going to go back to my original block, and I'm going to continue crocheting on it. So I've joined it at the corner. Let me do these 3 and I'll show you. There we go. Now this blanket, this block here is connected here at the corner. Now how am I going to work up the side? It is so easy. You guys are going to love this. If you've never done this before, you're going to love it. Okay, I've got my second chain 3 here. Second grouping, my second grouping of my 3 double crochet. Now instead of chain 1, I'm going to go to the next chain 1 space in my first block, and I'm just going to slip stitch in that chain 1 space that counts as my chain 1. The block that I'm working on, I'm going to do my 3 double crochet in my chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3. And instead of a chain 1 before I come over here, I'm going to go to this blanket here, and I'm going to slip stitch in that chain 1 space. Slip stitch counts as a chain 1, and it joins the 2 squares together. Now I'm going to this chain 1 space to complete my 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to show you how this looks till we get to the very end. You're going to be surprised. And instead of a chain 1, going over here to this block here, slip stitch in that chain 1 space that counts as my chain 1. Then to the next chain 1 space here, completing my 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. I almost did a chain 1. Don't want to do that. I want to come over here, slip stitch in that chain 1 space that counts as my chain 1. Back to the block I'm working on, my 3 double crochet. And you might say, oh, it looks uneven. I don't think it's going to work. When we get to the very end, it's going to come together. I know it looks uneven now, but it's going to come together. Don't worry. Now, I've got a chain 1 right here. I'm sorry, not a chain 1, a slip stitch. Slip stitch right there. I'm going to do my 3 double crochet here. 1, 2, and 3. Go into my next space here and slip stitch. And here at the corner, I'm going to chain 3. 1. I know it looks off. 2 and 3. Don't panic. It is not off. We're going to go up here to this chain 2 space. I'm going to just go ahead and do a chain 1, slip stitch into that corner, and then come back to the block that I'm working on and finish my 3 double crochet. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now, since we're not joining to anything else right now, we've just got the top of this one, I'm going to go back to my chain 1 and then 3 double crochet in my next chain 1 space. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to set this down. We're going to look to see how this turned out. Okay, look at how pretty that turns out. Now, as you get your blocks all put together, that's going to come out nice and even across here, because when you work across here, then you're going to be joining your squares in these spaces here. But look how pretty that's going to be once everything comes together. Your blocks are going to have this lovely black border around each block, and each block is going to be defined by that border. Now, you don't have to do black. Do any neutral color. You can do gray, you can do white, you can do tan. I have chosen for this blanket to do black, and I think it's going to be lovely. Now, if it would have been gray, I would have had trouble here, because then it just kind of would have blended in. You want it to pop. You want each square to tell its own story. So I'm going to finish this up. I've got 2 more that are already done. Let me show you what they are. Here's one here, and I'm trying to remember the name of this book. Give me a moment. Sugar Birds. This one was for a book called Sugar Birds. Isn't that pretty? It's very, very similar to this one, but it's different. They both have this pretty peach color. And then this one is for a really fun book that I just finished. Again, these are all from my book club. This one is Lessons in Chemistry. Look at how bright and beautiful that's going to be. But the thing is once they're all put together and they're divided by this black border, they're all just going to pop in their own unique way. Each one will tell a story, and it will be all about a book and a hook, an Afghan story. All right, I'm going to finish this one up, and I thank you so much for joining me. Comment below and let me know if this is a project that interests you. I think it is the most fun way to use up your stash to really make the books that you read count. You'll end up with your book reviews. And again, you can use this for your travels. I already told you I did one for my trip to the Great Lakes and seeing a really beautiful oh, I can't even think all of a sudden, a really beautiful lighthouse. We also went to the Bald Eagle Center in Minnesota, and I actually did a block based on the eye of an eagle, the black pupil, the gold, and then the white of the head and the brown of the body. I did a block just totally representative of a bald eagle. There's going to be another book that will be coming out. It is in pre-production right now, and it will be going in for review for publication soon. Same concept, but it's just based on your memories. What if you have a beautiful memory and you don't even have to think about a travel or a book that you've read? Maybe you can think about a beautiful day at the park with one of your children, or a beautiful day that you spent with your mother. What colors come to mind when you think about that beautiful memory? Maybe it was the blue of the sky, the beautiful white of the clouds. Maybe you were out with your grandchild and they picked you a beautiful gold dandelion, and you can have the yellow of the dandelion and the green and the blue sky and the clouds, and you can write in the book that I'm putting together for you about this beautiful memory. And then when you present a family member with that blanket, it's got a book to go with it to tell you all about your favorite memories of spending time with that person. All right, friends, I'm going to finish this up, and I want to thank you so much for joining me here on my channel. Please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to follow along on this journey. And I so appreciate you being here. I'm going to finish this off and move on to my next square. Until I see you next time here on the farm and up in my craft room, make sure you take care of yourself, take care of each other, and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.